I'm Lyle Vincent, cinematographer. I'm on the Cinematography podcast. The kind of big theme of the show is like the darkness of the human heart, really. And we want to treat this like it is a film. You know, it's shooting on film. So it's like you light where you do want to see and you let the rest fall into blackness.
This is Cinepod, the Cinematography Podcast, a program about the art, craft, and philosophy of the moving image, presented by Hot Rod Cameras. I'm your host, Ilya Friedman, and today on our show, I speak with Lyle Vincent, cinematographer behind HBO's The Staircase and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. You can see Lyle's work on the Emmy-nominated Netflix series, The Beast in Me. If you're a fan of Widow's Bay, The Beast in Me also stars Matthew Rhys in a very different role. We dive into Lyle's long-running collaboration with director-producer Antonio Campos and how it shaped his approach to shooting The Beast in Me in one continuous, long-form story, rather than 8 separate episodes. Using Panavision's Ultra Panatar lenses in the sweet spot with just enough anamorphic blur without distortion. How the lighting shifts as the character's true nature grows darker and harder edged, undermining the audience's trust. And how Lyle's hard light, deep shadow style of Beast traced back to his early work on A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. He lights only what he wants the camera to see and lets everything else fall to black. After the interview, stick around for our short ends, our pet obsessions of the week. But first, find out what's going on in the world of entertainment in our segment called Close Focus. All right, so it is our close focus time of the show. Ben, what is going on in the world of entertainment?
Well, there was, a little thing called the Emmy nominations were released, and we were really excited to see a bunch of guests of the show who are nominated for Emmys.
Indeed, we've got a whole bunch of people, including Christian Sprenger, who was just on, I think, last week for Widow's Bay. Congratulations, Christian.
Widow's Bay is like one of the big stories of the Emmy noms, though. Like it's gotten a bunch of noms, right?
It has. It's gotten a ton. I'd have to look here to see exactly how many, but Widow's Bay, I think 19. It says Hacks got a bunch. The Pit got 25. So yeah, some really big shows this year. Really big nominations for a few shows this year.
Widow's Bay is one of the most addictive shows that I would say I've seen in the last several years. Like probably 20 people had said to me, "You have to check this show out. It's totally your thing." And I was like, "It's on my list," but like I was watching a bunch of shows for the podcast, and so I was like, as soon as I get done with all these shows, I'm going to watch Widow's Bay. And then as soon as I started watching it, I'm like, where has this show been all my life? It's so good. No shade to all those other shows that I watched. Things like Spider Noir, loved it, and that got a nomination. Widow's Bay, I think, is one of the most buzziest shows of the year.
Yeah, we should also shout out some of the people who have been on the show. You can go listen to their episodes talking about these shows. Outstanding cinematography for a 1-hour series. Dana Gonzalez for Alien Earth. Congratulations.
Beautiful show.
Terry Siegel for Margot's Got Money Troubles. That's an incredible show. Pluribus, Marshall Adams. Spider Noir, Darren Tiernan. Lots of great people in that category who've all been on the show. Then there's more here too, like for the outstanding cinematography for a limited or anthology series. Go listen to James Laxton. He was on the show for Beef. Also, Peter Konzel. He was just on for Black Rabbit. Also nominated. And James Whitaker for DTF St. Louis. And Michael Bauman for Monster, the Ed Gein story. All of those are in that category, which is congratulations to all of you.
It's why we do it, is to talk to these brilliant people and kind of hear what makes them tick. So,
yeah, we also have to give a huge shout out to Matt Ball, who was also just on the show. He got nominated for Tucci in Italy. I think that we should actually start just saying that the reason all these people are getting their nominations is because they came on our show. That's really.
I think that's obviously the case.
The truth of the matter is, and here I'm going to, little inside baseball is, before Emmy season, before Oscar season, everyone who is listening or watching us right now should know that PR people for a lot of these super talented DPs and sometimes other categories start hitting up our producer big time saying, hey, award season is coming up. We want our people on your show to talk about what they do. And so clearly there are some people actually out there. The reality is that they do think that we contribute to the notoriety or the...
I think that the logic goes the other way, though. I think that we were reached out to because there is an Emmy push for them, and they're getting them on every outlet that would be worth their time. And I'm flattered that any of the people that we've just named and anyone else would consider us worth their time. And every single one of them is great to talk to. But
come on, yeah. I was trying to toot our own horn here about we're so important. I don't think anyone's really taking us seriously.
We're pretty important. But I'm not taking away from that. I don't know if anyone realized this, but we're both kind of a pretty big deal here.
Yeah, pretty big deal here. But really, I know Alana's phone blows up. She gets text messages and emails all the time from people saying, "Put my person on your show," and sometimes it's absolutely impossible, and it's we have to schedule these things out way in advance. So Lyle Vincent, who is on the show, his show, which is called The Beast in Me, which is on Netflix and got a lot of attention right at the end of last year. It is absolutely worth seeing, especially with Matthew Rhys as hot as he is right now for Widow's Bay. You should also go see The Beast in Me. It is... First of all, he's got to be probably one of my favorite working actors today. He's this guy is amazing.
He's like a mark of quality. He chooses his projects very well, going back to the Americans.
Perry Mason, everything he does is fantastic. And I if you have loved Widow's Bay and you didn't see The Beast in Me, you should go see that right away.
The Beast in Me is a really good show, yeah.
Well, Ben, without further ado, why don't we get to that conversation right now?
Let's do it.
Joining me now is cinematographer Lyle Vincent. Hey, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, you've got a series on Netflix called The Beast in Me. I want to talk a bit about that, and I also want to go back and talk a little bit about some of your other work and how you and I first met each other. But first, let's get into The Beast in Me. The Beast in Me is a fantastic series. There's a lot of drama and intrigue and twists and turn. How did you get involved with this project?
Yeah, so it's kind of a continuation of a collaboration between me and director Antonio Campos. So I first met him on the limited series, The Staircase, which was actually my foray into long form.
Prior to that, you'd mostly just been working in short form or feature type of projects, rather than series, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first. Yeah, I guess I was kind of offered things here and there, but just never really saw something I wanted to really dive into. And what was cool about The Staircase was, and Antonio is kind of more from the feature world as well, and his kind of pitch on it and the way he wanted to do it was treating it like a really long feature, which was really cool to me. So I shot every episode of that series, which was challenging. And it was I didn't know any other way either. So it was we just do this all as one piece. It's one long story. And he at one point wanted to direct every episode, but didn't end up doing that. But yeah.
It's a lot of work. I mean, how many episodes was The Staircase? How many hours of...
It was 8. It's the same as Beast. It was the same format. It was 8. Yeah.
That's like making 4 feature films. So
yeah. And on Staircase, he was the kind of writer showrunner with a partner. So he was way more involved in it. But he did basically half of it. So he just gave it to one other director and then kind of treated this as a long, form thing. And that was really interesting for me. I loved it, everything about it. And then, we also wanted to shoot it as though we were shooting a long feature as well. And the shot design and how we lit it. And so it's The Beast in Me was kind of a continuation of that and maybe even pushing it a little further.
Well, let me ask you this follow-up question then to that. How would you describe shooting then a very, very long feature versus then a series? What differences are there in the approach to the work?
There's not a huge difference actually in how for these two projects especially.
Mm,
Um, it's just the main difference for me is like working with different directors and then
mm,
having to work out prepping with them while I'm shooting,
mm.
which is
So,
challenging, but I rely on, people in my crew to kind of fill in for me or go on scouts for me. And we just have such a shorthand. And then I have such a shorthand with Antonio now over the years. And I kind of know exactly what he wants and like what his sensibility is, and which is very aligned with what I like as well. So uh, it kind of just flows. It works. I'm there to kind of bridge, and continue the whole thing through
yeah.
rather than switching between, DP to DP.
Well, you shot all of the Beast in Me, and then I assume then you shoot also all of the Staircase, so it really was the same experience.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. It
So
was just a continuation of it. Yeah. Like of the same workflow. Um,
a lot of series get split up between DPs just because I think logistically, the way that things shoot, it's impossible to have the person who's the author of the look of the entire project to be in two places at once or three places at once, which is why it happens. How do you manage that then? I know you say you got other people to do scouts and things for you, but if you've got to meet with all the various directors and get on the same page with them, and tell me what that does to you. What does a day look like for you? How do you manage how do you manage those expectations and keeping that look consistent and dramatic and changing as you intend with the story beats?
I mean, it's really a lot of it happens in prep, and we really nail down what we're going to do in prep, and then it's also me putting in some extra time, like especially on weekends. So it's really just a lot of extra work with the other directors coming in. What was great too on both of them, it was like the directors were really interested in just kind of they're doing their own thing, but they really want to continue what was already set up.
Mm.
They kind of bring their shots and what they want to do and how they want to handle certain things, but they're like, well, how would you do that, and how would you continue that? So it just kind of flows in. And I think, Antonio is very involved as a producer as well. So he's kind of working with them as well, when I'm not. And then, like I said, like, I have crew members who kind of, are also in line with what we do and know exactly, the sensibility and how we're gonna shoot things. So they're able
Well,
to go on those scouts for me and such. Yeah.
yeah, that's I mean, that they say if you want to eat an elephant, it's one bite at a time. You got to you got to
It is a lot.
yeah, you got to get it done. But let's get into the nitty gritty of the Beast in Me. It's a really fantastic color palette. Like I found myself often looking at the color palette of this, going like, wow, it feels very intentional, not just in the color of the light, but in the production design. There's a lot of in the grade. It feels to me like there's some earthy tones, and there's a lot of like gray skies and overcast. And then even then when you get into sort of like more moody and night, both interiors and exteriors, color plays a part. It's not an oversaturated color. It's not like a, hey, screaming, look at me color, but there's these subtle colors, this subtle, like, influence that I feel like happens, especially like when you get into some of the more, surprising or more, horror sort of elements or thriller sort of elements that are in it. Can you talk a little bit about choosing when to bring color into all this and how you brought it in?
Yeah, I mean, the main kind of influence for some of the grade and the color and the overall look was just like a film look, basically, of shooting on like a printed film stock, something from maybe the 70s, like, so that was like kind of our main influence really. And like at one point we wanted to shoot film, in the end it didn't go through, but we really pitched it hard. And especially Antonio really went out for it. And when it didn't happen, it was like, okay, we just need to get as close as we can to it with digital. So yeah, it was like, yeah, the earth tones, this the skin tone especially, um, and the kind of, yeah, like you said, like the saturation, but like still being organic and textured, layered, adding the grain as well, and halation. Yeah, and then a thing that I kind of evolved to as you kind of get into the depths of the the evil character, the Niles. So it's like there was this kind of fiery warmth in the
Mm.
lighting, almost like a hellish feel. Um,
But it's not overt though, and
no, it's
if it creeps in, and it's like. There's multiple scenes. There's you do a couple of really interesting things too that I noticed in this, particularly like when we first meet the Matthew Rhys character. He's you don't know what to make of him, and the lighting is relatively flattering. We don't get like this super dramatic, super contrasty. It feels like hey, we this guy might be a jerk, but we don't really know his story. We're getting a lot of stuff. But then as it goes along, and as we get to reveal more and more of this character and his depth, and I don't think I'm giving anything away. It's been out about for a hot second now, so people could have seen this. But it's like as we get to understand this character, the lighting definitely seems to shift and change on him, and you play more in the shadows, and you play more with like hard light. Can you talk a little bit about the progression of the changes of the lighting sort of between the characters? Because I noticed that it quite often when there are things that are going on, it's like the lighting serves the scene and serves the overall story. But there's also like an undertone or a subtext, sort of like you're trying to communicate at the same time. Certainly in certain scenes and certain moments.
Yeah, no, it was really just like you said. It was like kind of don't give it all away at first. Kind of, make you keep you guessing about him. And the kind of big theme of the show is like the darkness of the human heart, really. And if you like with Aggie, if you spend too much time around it, it can creep to yourself. And that's really the book that she's writing, and and the life that she's being sucked into there. But yeah, so yeah, like you said, as it progresses, as you get to know more, I did kind of, yeah, it was like the light kind of went sidier and sidier, and then lower and lower as we get to the end of like this episode 7 and 8, and especially in the flashback things where you really see kind of what he was up to.
It's delicious. It's kind of delicious that you get like it's not on the nose. It's very subtle, but it's like it just increases and increases as it kind of goes through the show. But what's interesting too is that you play the same tricks on Aggie, so to speak.
Exactly.
Claire Danes character, she doesn't escape that treatment. She gets it too. So quite often when you're as an audience member and there's all of these subtle clues going on, it's like you have to question, is our protagonist trustworthy? You think that Aggie Wiggs, you think what's happening, but there's a little bit of this like subtle like visual hints. It's like, wait a second, I'm looking at her the same way I'm looking at Niles. I'm looking at her like there's something that mirrors between these characters. And I know that one of the ways that DPs like to play this is they play it for the scene. So like, you've got one character one way and one character another, but there's a mirroring. But to me, it feels like this is overarching. This is not even just like this is about making a scene feel, natural or in the moment. There's like, oh, we're gonna hit them with a little bit extra. We're gonna create a little bit of doubt. We're gonna make this shadow a little darker. And
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite sequences is when they get drunk together. So I mean, I think I feel like you don't really know anything about anything. Up is down, top is bottom. Can you talk a little bit about like that scene and how to play this? The subtle lighting treatments off each other when they're in the same space like that, and it's like a warm, friendly space.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the theme of the darkness, so it's like always playing with light and shadow, and them coming in and out of that, and like you said, like never really, knowing exactly where they are, and if they're telling the truth or not. And I mean, one of the big influences too of the overall look of the show too is Gordon Willis, and I think he just he did that so well in his Pakula um, movies, and The Godfather, obviously. Of he was kind of the first to kind of do this.
Agree.
You don't see everything. It's like the darkness, and you kind of are wondering what's happening in the interior world of that character. Um, so there was some nods to that for sure, especially Clute as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Clute was a big, just overall the lighting and the look of the show.
But this is, of course, this is a modern series. This is it's got a lot of good camera movement. It's got a lot of transitions that are very well thought out and move from place to place. Can you talk a little bit about then the framing of how you wanted to portray? I mean, certainly, there's a lot of height changes with camera too, and height changes with characters. But did you? Yeah, how can you talk about your relationship with the directors and then trying to, continue this through? Because I'm sure that as you're working with multiple directors, everyone else has kind of got their take on it, and they want to keep it similar. But how does those conversations go? We're like, hey, we've established this. This is how we're trying to do it, or do they just let you have free reign? Do they let you go however you want to go? What's that like?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the big ideas too was like just not falling into a traditional coverage ever, and having shots that develop themselves continuously, and yeah, and do change, in the height, and sometimes even zoom in within the shot, or change dramatically from high to low, or you know uh left to right, or you know in or out. So it's just finding, yeah, just finding the scene, really finding what the scene's about, and letting the shot continue basically without chopping it apart. um and that was really Antonio's um idea from the beginning. And the other directors wanting to say, "Oh, I saw what you did there, so I definitely feel like we need to bring that into this episode as well, to kind of almost like nod to that and continue it." So it was like we always found every episode some way to kind of play that.
Yeah, it's a striking look for a lot of the scenes and a lot of the. I mean, I think quite a bit of the. I mean, I feel like this is a location project though too. Like, and I could be wrong. Maybe there's a bunch of stage work, but I mean, definitely, like, I feel like when Abby and Niles go to that restaurant for the first time, like in episode one, when they're out there, feels like a
Right.
very real space, big
It
windows.
is.
So tell me a little bit about that. Then, is this mostly a location project? Is it a combination of location and stage? How does it
It's a
all?
combo. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a combo. So it's yeah, it's everything shot in New Jersey for the New Jersey tax incentive to take
Yeah.
place in Long Island in New York. Like Aggie's interior is all a stage,
Hmm.
and then a few other smaller sets, interior stuff, uh, like Abbott's apartment, and Niles' bedroom was built on stage. But then the rest of his house was an actual like big mansion in New Jersey, and then like, yeah, like the restaurant and the exteriors and that were all in New Jersey. Um, and a lot of stuff in Newark and Jersey City to double for New York.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah, and we had one interesting kind of location stage combo in I think it's episode 3. Yeah, so when they go to the rooftop,
Hmm.
and they're on the edge of the city in that. So that's like we did that on a LED
Oh, volume. Yeah.
volume, yeah, like a big massive curved screen.
Oh, wow.
And then just the deck basically of the building site was built on it. But then
How,
when they go up the elevator, and like all the hallway to that was an actual like construction site in Newark.
it's super convincing. Like, I would never have known that was a volume. It makes sense now, of course, when you tell me. But like, yeah, it's really seamless how all these fit together. Do you have a preference for the for doing the location work versus the stage or volume?
I mean, I love location stuff. I think it makes you think on your toes and sometimes makes you be more creative and, because you're limited, you can't just, take down a wall or put a light wherever you want, so you end up with a more, natural, motivated feel. And then when I'm on stage, I try to continue that, it's almost like yes, I can put things when I absolutely need them, but I try not to over rely on that. Like I still want a light from windows. I still want to have a ceiling, um, keep everything motivated, from a lighting perspective anyway. And camera too, because I feel like, yes, when you have a specific shot where you want to remove a wall or do something kind of tricky to really sell a moment, that's great. But if you're constantly doing that, I feel like you can subconsciously tell, that you're on a set where it's like the lens is like too long or it's in impossible places, in walls and that. Whereas when you're on, if you actually constrain yourself, or you're on location, or you constrain yourself on set, where you have to, this is where the camera should be, or you're gonna, you look through doorways rather than, removing walls. So you're looking, frames within frames. It just helps sell.
I, I'm glad you mentioned doorways because actually there's a sort of a little doorway exchange between Aggie and Shelley in episode 5 that comes to mind, which I really enjoyed because quite often when you see someone with the safety chain in a door, it's a very typical sort of like conversation. You've got sort of over where you see people looking through a door with the door's changed. You can't they're you don't do that, or you start off that way, but then you actually pull the camera inside the door, and Shelley retreats against the back wall. So you've got Aggie in the foreground, Aggie looking through the chain. She can't see Shelley at all. Shelley is in the background, and she's having this conversation. It's really a fun. It's everything about it is simple, but as you know, simple's never easy. To me, it seems like it's a really clever way to play out that scene. Is this something that you came up with, or was it storyboarded? How did this scene come together?
No, it was between me and the director. I mean, I think it really just, it highlighted, their kind of emotional distance at the time, and like, one trying to reach in and the other retreating, just kind of literally. And it just kind of played like that. And, I thought it worked really well.
I think so too. It's a really striking frame. To me, I feel like it's like, it's like a movie poster type of frame. Like, you get the foreground, you get the background, you get the tension that's there. Anyway, I feel like there's so many moments like that all throughout the series where they don't try to cause a ton of attention to themselves. They're not saying like, look at me, pay attention to me. We're doing this, but they're subtle and wonderful. And I mean, would you say that that's part of your aesthetic and that's part of your style? How do you go about determining, putting your stamp on something? I mean, a lot of DPs want to try to be invisible, but you also have to have your own flair. So
I think this definitely, a fine line there for sure. Like, yeah, you want to bring expressiveness, like you said, flair to it, but it should never ever be to the point where it's like taking away from the performance of what's happening in the story. And it should always be just supporting that. It should be, the visual storytelling, even when it gets expressive, it should still be in service of what's happening in front of camera and the performance and how it's leading the audience through the story beats. So yeah, I never want it to be fancy for itself, or for its own sake. And, like, oh, look at that cool shot. That's like, oh, you lost everyone immediately. It's like, if everyone just talks about the cinematography of a show, then
yeah, that it's failing. It's not. Yeah, that's not.
It looks great. It looks great.
Shouldn't be the takeaway. Beast and Me is a Alexa 35 show, and but it was Panavision lenses. Can you talk a little bit about the choice of lenses and how you came about that for the show?
This whole show is kind of a continuation from the staircase. Kind of the lens selection kind of grow that as well. So it's like something that we explored on the staircase, which we pulled over to this, was, knowing that we want to be in 2-to-1 aspect ratio. which is kind of like, a very symmetrical balanced frame, which is, I think it's really beautiful for, long form streaming stuff.
I agree. I love that format. Yeah.
Yeah, it just works really well because it's like it's still wide, but it's not to the
It,
point of 240 where it's like you kind of feel like you're cropping in,
mm,
and you have this kind of black bars. And the companies don't like it either. Like Netflix doesn't like it, and other streamers don't like it. They they kind of, I think maybe sometimes say we won't do that. So it's like 2-1 is kind of a great place to be. And whereas the 240 in a theater works because it's stretched out big, and it's across you don't feel a crop. Whereas this, it's like it just fits in a lot of people's screens.
Vittorio Storaro, yeah, he was the huge advocate of this from early days. He called it a Univisium, and yeah, and no, I agree. It's a fantastic format. And Netflix is one of the few streamers that really seems to have embraced it, which I think is great.
Yeah, they really like it, and it does, and it's really nice for framing. It's nice for faces and still landscape. You can still play with the width and setting things to one side of the frame or not. But so knowing that we wanted that, and we wanted, on the staircase it was the Venice, but it was still the same. It was like this kind of, the open gate is still the same kind of aspect ratio as a Lux to 35. It's like a square. So it's like when you use 1.3 times anamorphic, it de-squeezes out 2-1.
Mm.
So you're really using the whole sensor, which is really nice. And you're still getting this little bit of anamorphic character, which I always love, Talking about Girl Walks Home Alone as well, too. I just like the expressiveness of that and how it draws you in and to faces and the kind of abstraction of the background and just always had a love of the format. And so it's like this is like kind of carrying it over, but it's like anamorphic light in a way, or just enough where it doesn't distract it anything, but it still has that kind of flavor in there. So on that one we use the Hawk 1 point, on Staircase we use the Hawk 1.3s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the V-Light 1.3s. In my opinion, I think they're the best looking Hawk anamorphic lenses they make. Actually, they make quite a few.
Yeah,
And so
very good. Yeah. So
that was the inspiration then to look for an alternative.
like,
Yeah.
when we started talking, I mean, we looked at other things too, but it was like for Beast, it was like, let's just keep it in that world. And like these new Ultra Panatar lenses that Panavision had just recently kind of come out, and they're like newer lenses, and they're just really fantastic. I mean, we always, like, when we looked at other things, we always came back to those and be like, wow, there's something about that right there.
I agree. It's like hybrid anamorphic almost. It's like it gives you some of the qualities that are really desirable, but it doesn't go crazy apeshit like some other anamorphic lenses, which I got to say, I just feel like is
Time and place for that. There's movies for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But for this, it's like you don't want to, like we discussed earlier, you don't want it to be all of a sudden you're noticing that so much, and then it further with because the lenses are made for a large format.
Mm-hmm.
So using on the Alexa 35, you're even going in more.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like even using like the sweet spot in there, and you have a little less to the distortion fall off on the edges. So it's like pretty clean in the middle there, and then it has this kind of like mask in the iris to make it even look like the background and the bokeh and such is like even more stretched than 1.3.
Yeah. And there is something about shooting in the sweet spot of lenses. The sweet spot of lenses, even though lenses can illuminate sometimes much larger space, there's good reason why you wouldn't want to. And really, when you can keep when you've got a sensor, or we've got a lens designed for a larger sensor, now working on a smaller format, you get all the best parts of that. You don't really get I'm just gonna say it because I've worked on the technical side of this industry. It's the garbage. There's a lot of garbage out there, which some people go, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to see that garbage.
Sometimes you like it. Sometimes it works.
But yeah, there's some lenses that I'd say that most people don't want to see most of the time out there. That's actually, but it's fun. It is a interesting little I want to say it's a super nerdy subsection of people in this industry who even understand that like the further you go from the center of that lens to the edge, just overall the worse it's going to get. And when you can play that correctly for effect, it's wonderful. But when you're not, when you're just using it all the time and don't understand it, that could be a thing. So yeah. How do you like to pick the gear that you work with? Do you shoot tests? Do you shoot specific scientific tests? Do you shoot artistic tests? What's the process of you selecting what it is that you are going to work with?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the beauties of cinematography is it rides a line between this like technical scientific field or ability or you know and a very artistic expressive world. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't say I do more scientific testing, but I like the more artistic tests. But it's just always how I respond to it, and but I do like to you said, I do want to understand exactly what's happening and how to pick things. It's the same with anything in the cinematography world of like lighting as well. It's like you want to know your tools and know what you get from a certain thing, and it's just like when we used to shoot on film, it's like you do all of the exposure tests because you want to know, like, when I underexpose it by this many stops, it looks like this in my final print or my DI, and same with my overexposure. So it's like just knowing that, just knowing what the tools do and what the effect is from them, and then opening you up and freeing you up to express with them.
I want to go back and we were just on the show for Rosemead, which is great. We had a chat with Eric Lynn, but I want to go way back. I want to talk about like how did you get the bug for this? How did you when did you realize that cinematography career is something that you could do?
Yeah. So I always kind of had a art background, photography, painting. Just had a very eclectic, kind of undergrad education and high school before that. Just interested in so many different things in the world. And I went to this school at NYU called the Gallatin School, which is you can kind of study all different things. You can make up your own major. And I started getting really into, because I've always had, from a kid, just a love of movies and kind of fantasy, sci-fi stuff, and always kind of be interested in that, like like world building stuff, like where like another world, another place. I was always kind of fascinated by that. And then so at this Gallatin School, I was getting to film studies and auteur theory and this type of thing, and really started getting to like, okay, directors and like what their stamp, how they put their stamp on everything, and movie making too. I just would start taking these classes at Tisch, and so I decided to apply for the graduate film program at NYU, and I made this little portfolio and got in, and really was interested in directing at first, but I think from my kind of previous visual arts background, I just fell in love with shooting so much. Just shooting film, the tactileness of it, projecting it back. At that time we were shooting 16 mil reversal, black and white reversal, making these short films. And then I ended up just working on a lot of my classmates' stuff. And I had this kind of one, Boris Fruman, he was this kind of harsh Russian professor, and you were directing? No, but DP, maybe.
Yeah,
He saw something there.
Boris had more impact on your future than you knew. So that's
Exactly. But so I was like, and I felt it too. I was like, I just love shooting. I just do. And so I kind of shifted my focus at the school and graduated a DP, and then because instead of like directing a thesis, you basically have to shoot like three of other people's theses, and I think I ended up doing more than that even. But and I shot some stuff for Columbia students and all this. I was just doing a lot at the time in New York, and then I met this producer who specialized in doing like local shoots in New York. He specialized in getting like shots of the city for these movies, or like B-roll or stuff for their greens for their plates, and all in 35 before digital and that. So it was like I ended up doing a lot of this stuff for him. Just that's how I got into the union as well. It was just like shooting B-roll, and then actually I ended up turning to some additional photography for some bad movies. Like it was work though. It was good. I just kind of started there, and then the first feature I did was actually in China from a colleague that I didn't know at the time at NYU, but a friend of mine did introduce me to her. I had done these other projects over there for another friend of mine at NYU, and they kind of caught wind of that, and I ended up doing this project over there. That was just an amazing experience. It was kind of like you could just do anything. The resources were just all there, and like it was like we're shooting on 35, but like you just there was no limit. There was like any crew, any equipment you need, and they just kind of make it all happen. And but just shooting long hours up. There's like no weekends, there's no breaks. There's like
Wow.
yeah, and just go, go, go. And they really do work so hard over there. It's quite a thing to see. But yeah, so it was kind of an amazing first experience too to have that feature. And then I met my wife over there, which is amazing. But yeah, so then I just ended up back in New York and cutting my teeth in indies and that. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably where we first met.
That's exactly right. I think I was going to bring that up next. It was probably like around 2014, maybe Sundance 2015. I can't recall which it was now, but you and I met in Park City with when you just had the festival debut of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night,
Exactly. Yeah.
which I saw and I really, really enjoyed, and I really wanted to meet with you and chat with you after I saw that. And then we had this great conversation, but unfortunately, apologies to you and to Tim Smith, it is the only time I've lost a memory card. So I lost. It was only.
It would have been one of the first episodes of this podcast.
It really would have. It would have been one of the earliest episodes, and that was a really cool project. It had a really distinctive look. It was an anamorphic, black and white. Like I don't even know how to. It was. I know there was a comic book that was released to like support it. Like as audience members, we also got like a comic book.
Yes, the movie started as a graphic novel. That's how Anna Lily Amirpour started with it. She built the world as in this graphic novel form, and she always knew she was going to make the movie, but like that's where she started with it to kind of flesh it out, which was really interesting approach. And then she'd even done like a proof of concept, like short film, or even it was just like a scene. And then, so when she kind of that was kind of one of the wonderful things about making that movie is like, look, here it is, this is what we're going to do. So it almost made it so seamless, and it was like always going to be black and white. It was never a question, oh, should we maybe make this save this and maybe someday it'll be colored? No, it's a black and white movie. So it could really be like, okay, I could lean into like I'm shooting this, I'm lighting this for extreme contrast, and almost like putting a red filter. I would like crank the. It was one of the early Alexa projects too for me, and I think it had just only been out for a few years, I guess. But because this is like before too, they had the black and white sensor cameras and all that, so it was like, I like crank the ISO to get the texture of it, and I also crank the white balance. So if you look at the actual like digital negative of that film,
oh yeah, you could never go back to color.
no, it's like really noisy and it's really orange.
Yeah.
Like red, almost like putting a red filter, because like it just helped the contrast so well to just like crank the white balance all the way to the opposite spec. And then I lit everything with tungsten light as well. That's all we had too. It was just we had this it was a tiny movie. We had just this small camera truck or little box truck with I think like a 5K, 2K, some 1Ks, maybe one Kino. There was no HMIs and anything like that. So it was like a bunch of tungsten lights, and I could play with, hard lighting, and light really, and like, this is what I did on Beast as well, which was kind of refreshing. It was like going back to almost. It's like treating it like, you light where you want to see, and like you let the rest go to black, you let it fall off. And
All right, I'm going to disagree with you slightly on this because I do not think that the look that you employed on A Girl Walk Home Alone at Night is the same look
no, no,
that
not
you
the same.
did.
Not the same.
But
Kind of,
y-
it was
y-
for, because, there's this tendency, in modern stuff to not use hard light and
yeah,
to fill in shadows more. And, digital cameras tend to, just
yeah, they see in the dark.
they
They
see in
yeah,
the dark.
yeah.
So Girl and Beast both were kind of like, no, we don't want to see. We want to treat this like it is a film. It's shooting on film. So it's like you light where you do want to see, and you let the rest fall into blackness. You know.
I'm going to encourage anyone listening to this episode to go and rent VOD or find A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. You won't be disappointed, particularly in the movie, but especially in your cinematography. In fact, and if you cannot find the movie, I would say watch the trailer, because in refreshing my memory for this interview, I went and looked at it, and immediately all these images came flooding back to me, and like just how incredible the black skies, and how dark and deep the shadows are, and how really just like fun the black. You looks like you had so much fun with the black and white. Like it looks like it just like really it was like such incredible texture and great extreme close-ups and all kinds of just stuff. And then like I got to go see this movie again now, just because I was like when I left that theater, I was like, oh my god, I got to talk to this guy. I got to talk to this guy. It's such a fun movie to watch. Beyond the fact of the story, it's a fun movie to watch, and I think it's rare when you find that combination. I mean, like I haven't even mentioned it's an Iranian vampire movie, and it's sort of like a film noir too. At the same time, it's like there's all this stuff
And a Western.
and a western. So it's like
With a lot of Sergio Leone vibes and influence there.
yeah,
And David Lynch too. That was kind of the kind of big things for Lily. It was like Sergio Leone, David Lynch.
the only way you get away with that is like low budget indie movies. Like no studio, no network, no streamer says, you know what, we're gonna green light, you know what we're gonna do, this extremely niche thing that some art school people are gonna be into. But no, look, it got a release, if I recall correctly too.
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
small release, but yeah, it was out there. And I still to this day, like you're saying, like I get people that reach out to me about it, or they'll say, "Oh, I just love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies."
I'm going to talk to the producer of the show and make sure that the show notes over at Cam Noir, we put a link to the trailer just so anyone can find it easily. If you go over to Cam Noir and find this episode with Lyle Vincent, in the show notes there'll be a link to the trailer to A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Just watch that. If you watch that, I'm pretty sure that you're going to want to watch this movie. It's like it is like the trailer sells the trailer sells the cinematography of this more than anything else. It looks to me like, yeah, like every single shot in that trailer is like it's a little masterpiece. It's fun, and it's a type of lighting that you don't usually get to see anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
People aren't making film noirs in black and white. They should, but you got to make one. You got to make one pretty early in your career too, which is
I know. It was a big thing for me at the time, and it really, it pushed me forward. And I did her follow-up movie too,
mm,
The Bad Batch, which is very different, but is also interesting. That's actually on Netflix too. You can see that. That's like, post-apocalyptic craziness with Keanu Reeves and Jason Momoa, Suki Waterhouse,
oh,
and
fantastic.
and Jim Carrey.
Holy crap. I don't
Out in the
miss that.
desert.
But yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's like a wild, crazy movie.
Well, Lyle, you've now really, I would say, I'm not gonna say transitioned, but you've now really made a mark in this sort of like this series, longer form. Do you have a preference for features for sort of a 2 hour length project versus an 8 hour length project, or do you like the long series? What gets you excited these days?
I mean, I like both. I really do. I think there is, my heart is always in the big screen in a dark theater,
Yeah.
that experience and shooting for that experience. Um, but there's something just amazing about really fleshing out these long stories and these characters, which
You
is
can let it,
really
yeah, let it,
attractive.
you get to let it breathe. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, let it breathe. Yeah.
You don't get to, you know, there's a tendency, I think, in a lot of things that it's like cut, cut, cut. And especially when you're talking about like a feature length project, you've got usually a running time that is sort of like this sword of Damocles. It's kind of over your head all the time. We got to make sure we get to this point, to this point. When you're in the series form, do you have a little bit more of like, oh, we can really get this moment, or we can have this moment play slightly differently? Or tell me what's that like for a DP? I know directors sometimes find it limiting because they're thinking about, oh, I've got this 1 hour, I got to tell this story. But does it change for you? Is it different?
Um, I mean, again, I do treat it just like a long movie, so I don't
That's the
see a
same.
huge difference in how I approach it or how experience it. But I do ex appreciate just how much you can get into the storytelling and like and how you can flesh out a scene or a character.
Mm.
And like you said, what we were talking about earlier with like the kind of arc of the character and how you can change the look and the lighting to support that over time, which is really, really fascinating for me. And I don't think we fully seen the height of where this format can go. You know, I feel like we're just starting to get there, you know, as a whole, you know, and I think it's exciting. It's an exciting place to see how it is expanding and new directors coming in and how they're treating it, you know.
Yeah, they don't usually greenlight shows for multiple seasons, but when you do get to stick on a show for a long time and the look progresses, and I'm thinking of shows like, you know, like Better Call Saul, or like, you know, Better Call Saul ran for years and definitely had a clear progression over it. But it's a unique trick that, you know, it's hard to do. It's hard to do when you don't know necessarily if you're going to be around next year to do it again or to continue. So, but
It's interesting you mentioned that show too, because so my last project I did was a pilot, which is the first time I ever done a pilot
oh wow,
with Peter Gould, who
oh
Better Call Saul. So his next series. So that was
uh,
my last.
well, I really hope I hope that goes. I mean, I don't know when you'll find out, but congratulations. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Well, it seemed to have gone really well, and we'll see. But yeah, it was interesting. 'Cause I hadn't done a pilot before, so it was like okay, it was like a different approach. So it was like put everything, all this resource into one episode.
yeah, yeah. I mean, do you feel extra pressure when it's a pilot for a show? Do you feel like, you know, because you've got, you know, you got to leave it all up there on the screen? Is there
I
a
guess so.
added?
Yeah, I'm sure the directors and producers, maybe actors too, feel more of the pressure of it. But for me, yeah, but for me, it was nice just because it was like, okay, I have extra prep now. I have extra resource just for this episode. Whereas like when you're doing the limited series, it's like that has to, you know, carry
That
for 8 times, you know.
exactly. That prep's got to last for all of that. So, Lyle, this has been so much fun. I'm really glad that we were able to make this conversation happen. Is there a place online? I'm pretty sure I asked you for Rosemead, but you know, I'll ask you again. Is there a place on Instagram or a place that people can follow you if they want to get in touch?
It's just, you know, Lyle Vincent is my tag on there, just at Lyle Vincent. Um, and then my website, lylevincent.com.
Terrific. We'll put
Yeah.
those in the show notes. And I mean, it was a great conversation. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks for having me on both these. I really appreciate it.
All right, that was Lyle Vincent. Lyle, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. I know this is your second time on the show. You were on previously before, so I'm really glad that we got to chat about about your work, and I look forward to seeing what you do next. All right, Ben, it is our short end time of the show. It's the time we talk about pet obsessions. What is your pet obsession this week?
Well, I have one that hopefully listeners and viewers of our podcast would find of interest. And like when I heard about this, I was like, no way. Firstly, it was a thought of no way, and secondly, it was like, God damn it, why didn't I think to do that?
So jealousy plays a part in this.
It's jealousy, but it's the best kind of jealousy. It's like one of those things where you just kind of go like, I'm glad someone did this. It is a documentary called Robert Richardson, the White Devil.
That sounds pretty specific. That's a pretty like serious indictment of Robert Richardson. It sounds like in the title.
It's directed by somebody. Her name is Jana Habdoja. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, it's one of those things where Robert Richardson, we've had Robert Richardson, Bob, we call him Bob, on the show before. He's one of the people who, in my opinion, made me want to do this podcast in the first place. It was in the 90s when I saw the Errol Morris documentary, Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control, which Robert Richardson shot. And I knew that the same guy had shot it who had shot all of Oliver Stone's great 90s movies, JFK, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, etc. I mean, basically every Oliver Stone movie up until U-Turn. I knew that Richardson was that guy, but when I was watching Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control, and I love Errol Morris, but I had a moment of like, do I like those Oliver Stone movies, or do I like Robert Richardson's photography of those movies? Because what I was seeing was like, I could just watch anything he did. And I started like going to movies that I like, Snow Falling on Cedars, no offense to that movie at all, but it's not the kind of movie I would have sought out. I went and saw it because Robert Richardson shot it. You know, he's become Quentin Tarantino's go-to cinematographer, but also, and anyone in the business will tell you, kind of a character. And he's a one-of-a-kind artist. He's, you know, we've had DPs tell us interesting stories about him. I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but he's just a fascinating force. He's one of those force of nature guys. And his work is pure genius. I think he's one of the best DPs like ever to do it. But like, I actually remember when we had him on and you said something about like a look that he gets, and he got instantly like in your face about it. And he was like, what look do I get? You know? I just think he's fascinating. And this documentary, which you can watch the trailer for, is freaking brilliant. I mean, my hat's off to the filmmakers. I was looking to see if I think she might have shot it herself, because I don't see a cinematographer credited on their IMDb page, or I would shout that person out. A company called B-Rated acquired it, I think at the festival level, but it's got interviews with Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino and Oliver Stone and
never heard of these people. Yeah.
A bunch of people who've worked with him. Well, and you know, like these people work very closely with him. You know, Scorsese is one of those directors who works with top flight DPs and comes back to some of the same ones, but he's not against changing it up. And like, I remember Bringing Out the Dead was one of the films that Richardson shot for Scorsese. And obviously Oliver Stone, I think every movie from Salvador through U-Turn, which is a giant chunk, he shot all of Oliver Stone's movies. And he has shot every Quentin Tarantino movie since Kill Bill Volume 1. And his work is just amazing. And he works with Antoine Fuqua. That's what we had him on. He shot Emancipation for him. He shot one of the Equalizer movies for him, or maybe a couple of the Equalizer movies for Antoine Fuqua. He's just, but he's a character. You know, I mean, we talk to a lot of people on here. Many of them are characters. Looking at you, Larry Fong. But but I think it's, you know, there are people that you encounter in this industry. You know, we had Dan Neese on the show. He was a real character. Bob is a very interesting person beyond the fact that he's just a beautiful stylist with lenses and lighting. Like there's something interesting going on under the surface of that man, and I'm excited to see this documentary to see how far they're able to peel that back. It doesn't look like it's just about the film work of him. It looks like it's about him. And
give everyone the title of that movie one more time.
It's called Robert Richardson, The White Devil.
It's an inflammatory title. I can't wait to see it.
And you can definitely check out the trailer right now. It looks great too, by the way. I'm just excited as all hell to see it. Like it's when it comes out, it'll be my short end again when there's a way for me to watch it. Hopefully, I hope it gets a theatrical. Cinephiles know this guy. Like he's well known, and he's not like some weird underground filmmaker. This guy has been making giant mainstream films for like 40 years.
Yeah, his resume is unmistakable. It's really
unimpeachable.
Yeah.
Just some of the best.
Agreed.
I look at JFK specifically as a turning point for the style of how we shoot, how we light, how he lens, and how he edit. And obviously, Bob did not edit that film, but he created the raw materials. This multi-mixed media approach to beautiful 35 cut with grainy 16 millimeter, cut with more grainy Super 8, cut with, in the case of Natural Born Killers, video, like all kinds of stuff. And it kind of created a style that had hitherto not been done really before. Not at that level, not at like giant blockbuster Oscar winning levels. And, and he continues to innovate and do amazing stuff. I would put him up there with some of the best.
Agreed.
I'm going to stop waxing Bob's car now. What is your pet obsession of the week?
I saw a really, really cool shot on social media that just sort of like, it didn't really faze me. I kind of scrolled by it, and then I wasn't really thinking about it too much. And then a little while later, I saw it again, and I was like, okay, is this a clip from a movie or from a thing? I couldn't exactly tell what it was. It was this like really cool parallax motion. It was taken from a helicopter. It was circling around this tower. And then I realized it was the news. I was watching the news. There was a couple that got arrested for illegally scaling the Empire State Building.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the news.
And they unfurled a giant banner that said, "When the power of love beats the love of power, the world will know peace." And I was like, wow, it was a really kind of incredible message. And then they also showed like there was this like engagement happening. And at first I thought this was like, this was a put on, this was a thing. I was maybe watching a movie. It was this thing. And I was like, oh no, this is happening like today. This is happening like now. This is a real thing that's happening. And it made me then realize like, how much effort someone had gone into this, and then how the news media had created these like shots of helicopters circling around them. So they were doing these cool shots. These people did this whole thing. And so then, of course, I had to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out what happened to them. Well, it was a couple named Angelina Nicolau and Ivan Kutsanov. Kutsanov, I think is how you pronounce it. She's 33, he's 32. They were both charged with first-degree reckless endangerment, second-degree criminal mischief, and an additional charge related to climbing the nearly 1,500-foot-tall building on Wednesday. So Wednesday last week. It's they were dressed in dark outfits and masks, but they were taken into custody.
They missed their chance to dress like Spider-Man, but that might have undermined their whole point.
Yes. When the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace is a pretty big message. But at the same time, they're not exactly known to shy away from the spotlight. There was a Netflix documentary about them that came out in 2024 called Skywalker's A Love Story. I haven't seen it. And maybe this was all a PR stunt just to get people to go watch their documentary, because it worked for me. I think I'm going to go watch it now. So,
well, let's see how much jail time they do for that publicity stunt.
Well, they were released. They are Russian citizens, and they are supposedly released under supervision. There was not a bail or anything for them, but I'm curious to find out what happens to them. Really, so I don't know if this was a publicity stunt to get people to watch the Netflix documentary, or if it was truly an expression of love, if it was a political statement of somewhat against, capitalism and modern society, or if it was just a, very dangerous jackass style prank, or maybe a little bit of columns A, B, C, and D. All right, Ben, I think that's a great place for us to leave it. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
You can find me at benrock.com, and you find all my socials on there. A bunch of people have friended me on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff. If I'm not against it. If you want to see, you want to learn all about my kids' soccer exploits, feel free to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Instagram actually has a lot more of the film stuff that I'm working on right now. Not because I'm very good at it, but because my producers are great at it, and they keep having me be a collaborator on their posts, so they show up in my feed. So if you want to see a bunch of behind-the-scenes pictures of my upcoming short film, which was originally called The Ultimate Breakup, but is now called Until the End, please check out my Instagram. How about yourself, Ilya? Where can people find yourself?
They can find me at the sponsor of this show, Hot Rod Cameras, hotrodcameras.com. Also on the various socials, if you want to follow me in any of those places, you will hear me or see me talking about things like reflected light, production technology, independent film. Those are all pretty big topics.
Anyone who listens to this show, why would they want to hear that?
I have no idea, but that's kind of what my social media is. That's basically it.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's kind of our audience.
Why we do this show.
Yeah.
Wait, are they going to hear about lenses too? Come on.
Yeah, there's a good chance lenses are part of that. So anyway, Ben, who made this show possible? Who do we have to thank?
As always, we got to thank our producer / editor, Alana Cody, and we have made her life pure hell with this host wraps because we were a week out of doing this and we were a little rusty, little punch drunk. But we got to thank her for lining up all these great, amazing interviews and keeping the dream alive and editing it too, which I have done, and I know how much work is involved. And then we also got to thank Kays Alatracci, who composed all the music that you hear on the show. You can check out Kays' website, musicbykays.com. If you have a synthesizer in need of repair, this is Kays' new cool side hustle. Check out kayslabs.com and get your synthesizer repaired by Kays. Who wouldn't want that if you had a synthesizer? I don't have a synthesizer.
No, but if I had a broken synthesizer, I know where it would go.
That's... I think that's the quote of the week.
All right, Ben, you want to take us out?
Thanks for tuning in. This has been Cinepod, the cinematography podcast presented by Hot Rod Cameras. Find your next camera, lens, or accessory at hotrodcameras.com. Watch and subscribe to our show on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow and interact with us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. But not X. Don't do that. Thanks for tuning in.